Okay.
55 per person. George,
Yes.
and it always sells out. 3 comedians plus delicious buffet dinner, 55 per person.
Gotcha.
Reservations required.
Good morning, guys. Happy Saturday to you. Thank you for joining my second podcast of many, hopefully, to come. Weather today, not a great weather weekend, of course. Just to let you know, too, I will tell you who my first live guest will be for my Wednesday, January 18th, 2016 show. I set that all up, and I think a lot of you will like who my first guest will be. Stay tuned for that at the end of the podcast. I'll announce that at the end. So let's begin with last night's blowout win by the number one team in the country in college football, the University of Indiana. They are so well coached, and that kid is a good quarterback. They just absolutely pummeled Oregon. I was surprised. I took Oregon in the game. It wasn't even close. They are so well coached. They are so disciplined, and they're tough. They are a good team. They had the potential to become the third Big Ten team to win the national championship. We had Michigan 2 years ago and Ohio State last year, and Indiana is 15-0. They will now go on to take on the University of Miami. If many of you know, I'm a Miami Hurricane fan. The Hurricanes have been in this position since 2002. The game will be where Miami plays their home games. Miami's 13-2 after an excellent win against Mississippi. That was a great game. That was a classic. As I said, Indiana's an excellent team, well coached. After his team's big win, head coach Curt Cinetti, who is a Pennsylvania product, he coached at IUP, Indiana University of Pennsylvania, and it was at James Madison. I actually was sitting next to this gentleman last night. He had put $1,000 on Indiana. He got really excited during the game. So he and I had a bunch, great conversations at a bar for men. They don't know is sports. It's funny. It's like it's a club. It's hilarious. And we were talking about it. He was there. He had been James Madison. He knew Cinetti from. So interesting. He put $1,000 on the game. Fernando Mendoza would be making a homecoming back to Miami. He is from Miami, plays high school ball in Miami, and he had talked about it last night. As a kid, he could walk to the practice field of the Hurricanes and watch them play. So should be interesting as he returns back to Southern Florida for that game against his childhood team. I'm going to say this: Miami didn't play their their best game against Mississippi. Miami will be ready, and of course, everybody in the world will be picking Indiana. And I like where Miami sits in this game as the underdog. They got nothing to lose. They've been underdog all through the playoffs. I told people this week, Miami, if you remember, in the beginning of the season, was ranked in the top 5 in the country. Many thought they had an excellent team. Remember when they got that second loss, everybody counted them out. And they utilized this 2 losses for momentum for the rest of the season. They're going to have to play a complete game, no doubt about it, and a disciplined game. If you saw the Mississippi game, they committed a lot of penalties. You can't do that against Indiana. You saw last night Oregon had 3 turnovers. It killed Oregon. That first turnover, that pick 6, that just set the wheels in motion for Indiana. I'm sitting there last night talking to these guys, and I'm watching before half. I'm telling game's over. You could just see the body movements of the Oregon players. They just knew that they ran into a buzzsaw. And I had picked Oregon. I had used a stat last week where bowl teams or playoff teams, after playing a team in their conference and losing to them, were 7-0 in the rematch in a bowl game or a playoff game. Boy, Indiana put that to rest real quick. Like I said, Indiana looks to be the 3rd consecutive Big Ten team to win the national championship. Should be an interesting game. Indiana's just they don't have like these star players. As their quarterback said, We just love playing the game, and we're brothers, and that's huge. That's unity, and that's a team, and coaches love that stuff. So we are in wild card weekend in the NFL. 3 days of wild card football. But before I get to that, I want to talk about what has been talked about all week in the NFL and across the country. I just put up a picture here. We all should know who that is. It's John Harbaugh. On Black Monday, and what Black Monday is in the National Football League is the day that coaches lose their jobs. And I believe it was 6 coaches on Monday lost their jobs. Then Tuesday, the word got out that Baltimore let go of John Harbaugh. And I listened to sports talk in New York and Philly just to keep myself abreast of everything. I know my Philly stuff real well, but when I want to talk about sports, I want to know about the national level too. New York is putting John Harbaugh like he's Vince Lombardi. He's a great coach. I'm a Harbaugh fan. I'm a Harbaugh fan, John and Jim. I'm a huge fan of both of theirs. And if you remember correctly, fans in Philadelphia remember John Harbaugh. He was a special teams coach under Andy Reid's tenure in Philly. He's a great coach. And apparently what happened down in Baltimore is the players were done. And it comes down to Lamar Jackson, their quarterback. And there's a guy that's Mr. Regular Season and doesn't win in the playoff games. And some people will blame Harbaugh for that. So they let Harbaugh go, and now he is the top dog now for coaching positions. And all we heard with the Giants, get him, the fans, get him. Eagles fans, if John Harbaugh becomes the head coach of the New York Giants, I'm going to say this. They're going to be a playoff team. I'm not saying they're going to be a playoff team next year. People are going a little overboard by saying he's going to give them 6 more wins next year. They have issues they got to take care of in the draft. Is he the right guy for the job? I'd be stupid to say he's not. Yes, he is. He will legitimately make the Giants a contender in the NFC again, in NFC East, which will make the rivalry with the Eagles even more intense than it already is. So he came out yesterday, and this was confirmed by Tony Grassi. Tony Grassi is a well-known Cleveland Browns beat writer. He's been around the Browns for a long time. And it finally got out on the internet yesterday that Harbaugh has 4 demands of teams that want to sign him. The first one, he wants $20 million a year. That's on the level of Andy Reid. Andy Reid makes $20 million a year, and Andy Reid I consider the best head coach in all of the NFL. Second, he wants $10 million to fill his coaching to fill out his coaching staff. Third, he wants final say in personnel matters, which means he's basically going to be the GM. And then the fourth one, he wants to bring his own GM. Now, I think these aren't etched in stone. I think these are for the teams that like Cleveland. Like if you want me to come to Cleveland, these 4 demands have to be met. Now, the world could change on Monday. The Buffalo Bills could lose. A lot of the national media thinks that if the Eagles will lose, they'll get rid of Nick Sirianni. That ain't happening, guys. I'm from Philly, and Philadelphia hasn't talked about that one bit. I just think that's not going to happen. Think about it logically. Nick Sirianni is taking the Eagles to 5 straight playoffs. He's been in the Super Bowl twice and winning 1. This stuff of the national media saying that Nick Sirianni doesn't get along with the owner and the GM, that's hogwash. It's hogwash. Nick Sirianni isn't going anywhere. So I'm going to eliminate that right now. I was watching a podcast of a well-known guy in Philly. He's been around the Philly scene a long time. I brought it up to him, and he said, George, no way. That is not happening. End that conversation right now. So it doesn't matter if the Eagles lose tomorrow. Nick Sirianni isn't going anywhere. Just think logically. 5 straight playoff appearances, 2 Super Bowl appearances, and winning 1. He isn't going anywhere. The problem with Nick, look at this. When you are a successful team, I want you all to think about this. When you win a Super Bowl and other teams are looking for head coaches, they're going to come grab the team that's successful and try to get one of their coordinators. Jalen Hurts, right? And bottom line, which I'm going to bring him up in a second, has had a different offensive coordinator since college every year since he's been in college. He hasn't had one offensive coordinator for more than 1 season. Think about that. You have to adapt to an offensive coordinator, and people want to blame the Eagles' offensive coordinator for their problems this year. There's a lot more there than the Eagles, than the offensive coordinator. Let's just think about it. defenses have figured out how to stop the Eagles' running attack with Barkley. Okay. They're making Jalen beat him with his arm. Okay. The offensive line, injuries they may have had, hasn't played well this year. So if your offensive line isn't playing well and your running back isn't basically getting to the second tier, that's your offensive line. Okay. The players have to perform. The offensive coordinator calls a play. Each guy in that field on that field is to do a certain assignment on that play. So it's real easy to point the finger at the offensive coordinator. I've caught myself a couple times maybe going that way, but I just can't. It's the players. And some people think it's Jalen. There's certain things Jalen's strong at in the playbook. There's certain things that Jalen isn't using in the playbook. Some people think we may see Jalen do more running in the playoffs. It's not the offensive coordinator. It's not. It's the players. Think about it. The offensive line, which has been this Eagles' strong point for a long time, and they have had one of the best offensive lines of all the NFL, hasn't really played well. Okay, yes, they've had injuries, but they need to play better. The Eagles have a championship defense, no doubt about it. John Harbaugh will not be the Philadelphia Eagles head coach. John Harbaugh can sit here and wait. He's in a great position right now, to get the job he wants and at the pay he wants, and he can request those demands. That's how good of a head coach he is. Wherever he goes, the team will be successful. So let's get into the games on this weekend. Let's look at today. We got two NFL games this week. Today, we've got the Rams at the Panthers. The Rams are a 10.5-point favorite. The Panthers slipped in last week. They needed the Atlanta Falcons to solidify a win to get them in. They'll host the Rams this afternoon. Tonight, we've got a third meeting between the Packers and the Bears. Packers are a 1.5-point favorite. Scratching my head why they're a favorite. I'm still trying to figure that out. Eagles fans, Eagles win tomorrow and the Bears lose tonight. Eagles basically are the 2 seed, and that's how they got to the Super Bowl last year. Tomorrow, we have the Bills at the Jaguars. The Jags are a 1.5-point favorite in that game. Then you have the Eagles hosting the 49ers. This line's gone up in the past few days. The Eagles are now a 6-point favorite. It's a big line. That line's going up because San Francisco's got a lot of injuries. That's it. That's a big line. Then tomorrow night, you've got the Patriots. They're a 3.5-point favorite against the Chargers. The Patriots, they've had a great year, but I want you to look at their record. And, I know you hear the saying, you beat the teams that are on your schedule. They have like the 32nd strongest schedule in the NFL. The New York Giants have as many wins against teams over 500 as the Patriots. I want you to think about that. And I'm not downplaying what the Patriots did. This game against the Chargers is a proving ground for the Patriots that they're for real. If they can beat the Chargers, that might quiet some of the skeptics out there about, hey, look, their schedule's been so easy. It's, like I said, you beat the teams that are put in front of you, That's what you do in the National Football League. So let's get into a topic now. All Eagle fans, this is a social thing here with Eagle fans. The big thing with Cooper DeJean. They basically have come out, and you know who that woman is. She's a WWE superstar. That's Nikki Bella. They came out this week and saying that they are dating. We all knew that. The rumors were out there, and, saw Nikki wearing different things at WWE events. They basically came out and said, yes, they are dating each other. The big question here is she's 42 and he's 22. Us parents, specifically dads, I want you to think about this. If your daughter and Tom Brady, I brought up Tom Brady last week. It was in St. Bart's. He's 48 and he was with a woman that's 25 years old. I want dads to think about this. And I've heard some dads this week talk about it when they've talked about this on social media, on some other podcasts. I actually heard Craig Carton, and I'm a big fan of Craig, said, if my daughter brought home a 48-year-old man, he really said this, I'd punch him in the mouth. But that's logical of us fathers. But we don't make a big stink when it's the other way around here. You got the other way around here. You got a 42-year-old woman that's dating a 22-year-old man. So there's not a big thing there. Us macho men went, way to go, Cooper. But if that was our daughter, we'd have another thing to say for sure. But they finally came out and said, yes, we're dating. And good for the kid. He's a class act. I'm not, age is a number. You hear that. But, if that was my daughter, was 25 dating a 48-year-old, I might be like Craig Carton for sure. No doubt about it. So we got the NFL this week. Let me get into I got my teleprompter going here because I wanted to keep things flowing a little bit. I'm going to go over who I think there's coaching positions open. I actually put a thing together here with this in regards to the opening NFL positions. And these are just me. I just tried to read up on some things and my guesses of where these coaches are going to go. But all the talks, John Harbaugh. Who are the Ravens going to have with their open position? I'm going to give you a name. I'm going to give you, it's going to stay close to the Harbaugh family, is Jesse Minter, who's right now is Jim Harbaugh's defensive coordinator with the Chargers and was with Jim at Michigan. I think Minter could be a good choice for the Ravens as their next head coach. Now let's look at the Giants. Eagle fans are going to like this. I truthfully think, first you heard Kevin Stefanski, and then when Harbaugh came into play here, Giants look like they're all in on one of the two. I'm going to say it's going to be Harbaugh. You can't go wrong with John. That will really intensify the Eagle-Giant rivalry, and he will make them a winner. I got to be real here, guys. I got to be real. He's a true winner. You know what I mean? And he will bring them back into play for the playoffs and stuff like that. Look, got to give the Giants their kudos. You know what I mean? They're going after a head coach that can make them a winner again. They haven't been relevant in the NFL since 2012. It's a long time for the Giants. I mean, they talk about their past championships, but I'm sure Giant fans aren't too happy with how they played the last 13 years. John Harbaugh will turn that around. I think he'll go to the Giants. The Miami Dolphins, they hired a GM, and everybody was looking at who the Dolphins can hire as a GM. There's a particular GM they hire. Oh, John's going to go there because he's friends with him. They hired a guy that has a huge connection to Green Bay, Jeff Hafley, a coordinator with Green Bay. I think he's going to wind up with Miami. Let's look at Cleveland. I think Cleveland's going to stay home here. I think they're going to go with their defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz. I might be wrong with that one, but I think they like Jim a lot. He could give him a second opportunity. I think he's learned a lot from his first time as a head coach, and he's a really good defensive coordinator. I think Jim Schwartz could be the next head coach of the Browns. The Atlanta Falcons, I think Stefanski goes there. I think that's a good spot for him. Good young quarterback. I think he's a good offensive young mind. Didn't really have a shot in Cleveland. Cleveland's a mess, just to be real about it. I mean, they got Deshaun Watson. Stefanski probably didn't want that. That was the owner needs to not step into the field. Let your coach the players. Let your GM run the talent. It's just the ownership put him in there. Then they drafted 3 quarterbacks. Then they put Sanders in there. It was a mess. He had no shot there. No shot. Arizona, I think they're going to take I think they're going to grab Clint Kubiak. Tennessee, I think this is where Mike McCarthy goes. There's a name Dallas Cowboy fans are familiar with, the Green Bay Packers, and you hear that name out there in a lot of sports talk shows in New York saying Mike McCarthy should be with the Giants. Mike McCarthy with the Giants. I think it goes down south of Tennessee. The Raiders, I think they're going to go with Brian Flores. You heard Tom Brady, who's part owner of the Raiders. He's interested in Flores and the former Giants head coach as the offensive coordinator. That should be interesting. The Raiders. Tom Brady wants Flores, and Flores is an excellent defensive coordinator with the Minnesota Vikings. So let's get into what's going on out there in the world. Found this story. This defamation lawsuit between former NFL player, former Panthers and Vikings player Matt Callow, and his social media influencer model wife, Haley Bailey. I mean, you guys have heard about this one. The allegation, this is real here. Haley described Kaylin's penis size as 2 Coke cans, maybe even a third, implying that this was a problem in marriage, which ended in 2022. Guys, think about this. The ex-husband is taking her to court, the defamation lawsuit here, okay? It's absolutely crazy. The lawsuit, Cahill sued for invasion of privacy and defamation, claims the comments brought him unwanted attention and invasive commentary from the public and forced his family to endure this ongoing public circulation of these degrading and deeply personal statements. He's got a point. He's got a point. But, you know, most of us ego-driven men out there, you would hear them like, yeah. But he's taken her to court, and I had the amount here. I believe it's $75,000 that he's taken her to court about. And there was a picture and a post with her, and she just said it basically caused problems. They went to therapy over it and stuff. It caused issues with their marriage. But she was on a podcast and brought it up about his size of his stuff. Crazy stuff. So I just wanted to bring that up because, you know, us ego-driven guys, I mean, wow, she divorced him because he was hung. I see his point a little bit. I really do. And I see hers too. I mean, I do. But I saw the story and I was reading it and I heard it on the radio. I'm like, I started chuckling, like, you know, a typical guy. I'm going, oh yeah, way to go, man. But I started reading more into it and I was like, okay, I get it. But it was crazy. I'm reading the whole article. It was in the New York Post this past Thursday. It was in it Thursday. I saw it. I'm like, I wanted to bring that up. And I was like, this is crazy stuff. Totally crazy stuff. MLB, free agency. Lots of free agents still out there. And many people wondering why. And I brought this up last week. Philly signed, when they signed Bryce Harper, they were about ready. They were in training camp. So it's, how late is it, or is it really late? I think what's going on with a lot of teams here, a lot of these guys want a lot of money. And a lot of these guys have big-time agent Scott Boras, who is the king of baseball players' agents. And he's asking for a lot of money. I think with a lot of teams here that are gun shy, and I can bring the Yankees in here too, and the Mets in here, the Major League Baseball is going to go into lockdown in 2027. And I believe it's going to be a long one because both sides are as far apart as from one side of the Atlantic Ocean to the other. MLB owners want a cap. The players don't want nothing to do with a cap. They never have wanted a cap. And they are so far apart on this. For baseball fans, this could be, in my opinion, a lockdown that we've never seen before. I think it could last the entire season. That's how far apart Major League Baseball owners are and the players. The players want nothing to do with a cap, and owners do. Even with a cap, the big boys will still be able to sign the players. The teams like Pittsburgh, how can they survive? Pittsburgh, I'm going to use them as a perfect example, okay? And even Tampa. Pittsburgh develops some great talent, right? And they don't stay because Pittsburgh won't pay the price of keeping them on their team. I think a lot of it's with the bottom dweller teams not staying competitive. The Dodgers, they're in a league of their own. I mean, no one's touching them. They're owned by a big-time conglomerate that has tons of money, and they're not afraid to spend it. They don't care about the luxury tax. And I said it with the National League. It's the Dodgers and everybody else. No one's going to – look what the Dodgers did. They signed Edgar Diaz, the best reliever closer in baseball. They're just so loaded. It's crazy. They're just that good, and they've got all this talent, and they just keep spending. And I think that might be part of the problem. And I just don't see the owners budging. I don't see the players budging, and this could be a long one. Looking at guys that are still out there, the big name still out there is Kyle Tucker. Where is he going to end up? Rumors are the Dodgers might give him minimal number of years and not give him. He's looking for a big-time deal. I don't think he's going to get it. I think he might get a 3-year deal somewhere along the line here. And I'm hearing the Dodgers might do that. Can you believe that if the Dodgers signed Kyle Tucker, oh my God, look at the players they got on their team now. Oh my goodness, it's just crazy. They just write the checks, maneuver the money, and come play with us. Another name out there is being affiliated with the Phillies, and I was on the podcast earlier, and we have John Middleton saying, "I want to make the team better. I want to spend money," but he made a point to me. He says, "George, John Middleton has a group of partners of former families of the old regime of the Phillies. They want to make money, and the rumors are that Bo Bichette is going to be coming to the Phillies." And I said, wait, who cares about the cap? Who cares about the luxury tax? And he brought up John Middleton may not care about it, but his partners do, and his partners are there to make money. And I'm like, so you're telling me this Bo Bichette thing is just hot air? He goes, he doesn't think the Phillies are going to sign Bo Bichette. I don't know. I think they will. I think they need that bat to protect Bryce. JT's probably not coming back. That's another tough situation where JT wants 3 years from the Phillies. The Phillies have offered 2, and both sides aren't budging. And JT, I heard yesterday, Tampa's interested in JT. That might be a good spot with a young team and a young pitcher. JT would fit in well down there, and I'm a fan of JT Realmuto too. He does a great job behind the plate. 35 years old, wanting a 3-year deal. I see the Phillies point too. You got Cody Bellinger. Now this guy, he's already made $120 million in his MLB career, right? The Yankees offered him $30 million a year, and a lot of these guys want that what they're making a year number. It's an ego thing. They offered him $30 million a year. I believe it was for 4 years. Him and Scott Boras said no. He wants 7. You're not going to get 7. That ain't happening. Think about it. He's made $120 million in his entire career, right? And he's just offered by the Yankees 4 years at $30 million. Do that math. That's $120 million. They're going to give you a salary of what you've made thus far. I mean, how much more money? Look, I'm about the open market, but how much money do these guys? How much is enough? Seriously, what could you do with $30 million a year? I can think of a lot of things I could do with $30 million a year. It's crazy that the numbers that these guys want, and is it ever going to end? No. Pro sports make so much money. I mean, I just go back to college sports with NILs. Look what some of these guys are making with NILs in college. You got the kid at Miami. He's in his 7th year of college football, right? To go to Miami, he was making $4 million a year. Some of these guys in college with the NILs are making more money than they would in their first year of their contract. Let's put aside the first round. If these guys were second round and on, these NIL contracts are more than they would make at their initial NFL contract if they were drafted in the 2nd to 7th round. It's crazy. Sports at all levels is about money right now, and it's in college sports right now too. It's just insane. I also got this stuff online too with Major League Baseball lines, over under win totals, and also favorites to win MVPs in both the National and the American League. Before I get to that, did any of you hear, baseball fans, what baseball's thinking about doing with changing the leagues? I heard it this week. I read about it, and the commissioner of baseball was on a show this week and confirmed it. MLB is looking to, change the leagues and change the divisions. We're going to have 8 divisions down the road somewhere, and two leagues. It's not going to be the American National League. It's going to be called the East League and the West League, something like that. With 8 divisions, cities that have 2 teams in them, like for example, the Mets and Yankees, won't be in the same division. So they're going to be realignment somewhere down the road where there's 8 divisions. They want to keep the travel minimal down. Think about it. Flying from the East Coast to the West Coast to the East Coast, that's a lot of flying time. So that's the thought process with realignment. Of course, has to be some money in there as well. That was talked about this week. That should be interesting when that occurs. I think that's a pretty good idea, in my opinion. So let's talk about the win-loss totals of teams. I just pulled this up. Interesting where I see the team I root for, the Phillies. Over-under win totals, 92.5. Good number. The last few years, they've been around 90. Dodgers are at 99.5. Yankees are at 93.5. I look at the Blue Jays at 91.5. They like more wins for the Yankees than the Blue Jays. I think the Blue Jays are the team in the American League. I think the Yankees are chasing them. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying because I'm not a Yankee fan. I just think that the Blue Jays, they're not afraid to spend money, and they have done that this offseason. Is it going to that division between them and the Yankees? Of course it is. Then I see the Mariners there at 90.5. I'm going to give you guys a team, and I think I put this in my last podcast, and I put it on my post, and I put it on my Facebook stuff. The Atlanta Braves, in my opinion, are going to win the NL East, and Philly fans are probably losing their minds right now when you're saying that. Atlanta is an organization that develops talent year in and year out, and they win 90 games a year. Last year was a very down year for them. A lot of things occurred. They had injuries, players suspended. They have an awesome manager. I looked at their number at 87.5. I think the Braves win the NL East. I mean, I come back and bite, but I don't think I'm sticking my neck on the line too much there. I think they're an excellent team. They have a great farm system. They develop young players. Their GM is excellent. Their manager is excellent. They just had a bad year last year, and I think they are a team to watch, in my opinion, in the NL. Favorites to win the MVP award in both leagues. AL, no surprise. NL, no surprise. You got Judge in the American League at plus 300. Favorite in the National League, Ohtani at minus 110. You got it's the same guys. I'm going to put a name out there, and he was injured last year, and he was on the Braves. Ronald Acuna Jr. He is 14-1. I think I like him there in the National League. Comeback player. Play a full season, I think he'll lead the Braves back again. I'm going to go on that line with that one. The American League, Aaron Judge plus 300. You know what? He is the best player in the American League. God, when he can hit home runs. He's an excellent fielder. The guy's a great all around player. People ask, is he better than Ohtani? Ohtani can pitch. It's crazy what Ohtani can do. So. That's a little bit of what I want to talk about. Sports. I'm going to bring one more thing up about sports. One of my favorite players on the Eagles, and I think he's a key for the Eagles, is my boy Jalen. He gets a bad rap. If you know me from back home, you know I'm a huge Jalen Hurts fan. I was a monster fan of his when he was at Alabama. Watched him go through the stuff he went through at Alabama. Handled it as a class. The guy just wins, man. I don't care how pretty or ugly it is. He just wins. I'm glad he's my quarterback. I have to say that. And hear this stuff that he needs to do more in the playbook. I think we're going to see more out of him in the playoffs. I really do. I think he knows it's now time to step up. And this team's a Super Bowl champion. He's been in 2 Super Bowls, so he knows what the playoff run's all about. I think he's huge. And I'm a huge fan of his. I think he presents himself well. I think he's a class act. And what do you expect? He comes from a coaching family. His father is a head coach of a high school team. So sometimes he gets this bad rap. I don't know why, but you know what? He's aligned himself with Michael Jordan's, package. So, who else you get to learn better from than Michael Jordan? He's the best. So, thank you guys for this. I think this is a short one today. Now, I'm sure some of you are waiting for this one. Now I'm going to tell you who my guest will be on Wednesday, July 18th. And I think a lot of you will like this, and I hope a lot of you join. January 18th. Sorry. When I say July 18th, sorry. Thank you. January 18th, 9 o'clock. I'm going to bring him up right now. I just said him. Hold on a second. Let me remove this. Let me put myself over here. Are you ready? You guys should all know who that is. First off, that is Eddie Testa, well-known musician in this part of New Jersey, a friend of mine. Eddie, first off, I want to thank you for being my first guest in January. I get to iron out the kinks and make sure the technical aspects of this goes well. That's why I do some of these here. But Eddie will join me on January 18th at 9 o'clock. I hope some of you will come on board and talk with us as well, ask some questions. I'm also going to bring up some sports with Eddie. I'm not going to embarrass anybody. What I want to ask him is a typical. I remember being in high school. remember when bands would play in the garage? I wanted to ask him when he first started playing and just listen, because I have this thing about musicians. I think they're incredible. They're just, the talent to play an instrument amazes me, because I can't do it. You know what I mean? I do this. I'm a sports guy. When I go watch bands or musicians play, I'm just in awe of their talent to play a guitar, to play drums. it's a special breed, in my opinion. Okay. And I look forward to talking to Eddie about a lot of stuff and him letting me know, I'm going to ask him those things. What made you become a musician? When did you first start playing? I'm going to ask him, who was his favorite that he's played with? I mean, he's been around here a long time. He's played with Bruce. He's played with Southside, of course. But there's going to be some of the questions I have, and hopefully you guys can give me some questions in the chat when I have them on with me. So Eddie will be with me on Wednesday, January 18th at 9:00. I hope you all join me for that one. I'll have a more podcast before that, but I just wanted to put that out there today, and I told you I would. And he'll be my first, and hopefully have many more that come. But I wanted him to be my first, and I'm real honored to have him on board with me on that Wednesday. And he was really, there wasn't a kickback from him. You know what I mean? And I really appreciate that. And thank you, Eddie. And I look forward to you guys seeing that. It should be a fun night that night. So guys, thanks for joining me this morning. You can get more of this if you don't see me live. Okay. You have all my podcasts. You see the bottom one on StreamYard if you wanted to get on board with me. It's on YouTube. Okay. My YouTube page. I put that on my Facebook page. You can see replays of this. I'm sure it's on Facebook Live right now. I connected it to with multiple sites. I'm trying to get on Twitter, but I think I got to make my account something there. It wouldn't let me do it this morning, but I'm trying to get it to more different social media things and iron out the technical aspects of this. So guys, I want to thank you for joining me. I want to wish you all a great weekend. Stay safe. Whatever you plan on doing today. I know the weather is terrible. I was supposed to go to an event in Lahaska. Push that back to tomorrow because the weather's supposed to be a little bit better. But enjoy the weekend. Be safe. I love you guys. Bye now.